guys, so Norma here, and this is Joy. So we already showed you in part one of this about touching the yellow and getting your dog used to going towards yellow. So that it's two parts to retrieving. So you need to work on the touch and throwing the toy out there with the yellow on it with a little bit of peanut butter. That's one part of it. The second part of this is actually teaching your dog how to hold. So again, this is for a dog that's not necessarily an overly natural retriever. Some dogs will, you can fill in the blanks with that, but I like doing this with all my dogs, whether they're grabbing items and bringing them back or whether they're not. So we did not see Joy, when we threw the teddy bear out there, we did not see Joy one time grab a hold of it. It's not her toy, it's one of our toys. So she probably has something at home that Richard, throws for her, and she really likes that. The other thing I really didn't mention is when you do this, make sure that you pick a toy that is designated for the retrieves. So you can get your dog's favorite toy that they have at home and maybe save that one, and you're going to attach a little rope to it, a little string to it. But they don't get that toy any other time other than when you are doing this exercise. So make sure that your dog has a toy, a favorite toy that's singled out that you guys can keep just for the retrieving, that you can put a little string on, and it's the only time that the dog is really using that toy. And if your dog is not, like this is not her toy, I would like to see her like grabbing a hold of something, but we didn't bring a toy for her. So we'll show you that in a minute with Yogi and see if she grabs it. But she's being polite. She's like, well, it's not my toy. Am I supposed to touch this? Am I not supposed to touch it? What am I supposed to do with this thing? So you do need something that your dog is really interested in. Let's say they're not interested in anything. I've had Basenjis and Akitas and just Afghan Hound that are just non-retrieving dogs. You throw something out there and they look at you like, you threw it, you go get it. That they don't put stuff in their mouth very easily. Some of them are very offended by that whole process. So if you have a dog like that, then I would definitely do step by step. There has not been any breeds of dogs that we have not been able to teach how to retrieve, as tiny as Chihuahuas and Maltese, all the way up to, Great Danes, Wolfhounds, those kinds of dogs, and everything in between. So it's more about whether a dog has a natural chase instinct, and sometimes the dogs that have a high prey drive or a high chase drive, those dogs don't make the best service dogs. So when you have a fairly laid-back dog or a dog that's not into chasing people on bicycles or skateboards and all that kind of stuff, they've got a low drive, a prey drive, that sometimes makes the best service dog. So please don't think that just because your dog's not chasey, that he's not a good dog. A lot of times when we are evaluating a dog, somebody else's dog, that for doing a service dog, if they have too much prey drive or too much chase drive, we're going to say no. So sometimes when you get like a little terrier that's really, really, really cranked up and interested in things, it's not saying that they can't be trained, because they can, but it's sometimes more difficult for an average person to take a dog like that and calm them down and teach them to focus in on them rather than everything around them. So, all right, so this is the next step. So like I said, there's two parts. The first part is go touch the little thing on the string that has the yellow, get the dog interested in the yellow. Keep doing that while you're doing this part. Joy, come here, baby. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to teach our dog to sit backwards between our feet. Now, a lot of people really like for their dog to sit here anyway. So you can put a command to this. This can be like post. So this would be their post position. And again, this is a great spot for you to sit in a waiting room, waiting with your dog. I mean, they're out of the way. They're in between your feet. It's a great place to sit and pet your dog. So we want to teach them to sit in this position anyway. Joy's like, that's good. I'll sit like this. Okay, baby, sit. So I do want her to sit backwards. Come on, babe. Good girl. Here we go. Good girl. She says, I don't know what you're doing. And then, hey, good girl. So we're going to teach her to sit there. We need to teach our dog that having something in their mouth is not a bad thing. So obviously, if they're running around grabbing stuff in their mouth all the time, you think, well, that should be easy. Well, actually, it's not. So you got to remember that the only thing that your dog has as far as protection is his teeth and his mouth. So when we put something in there and we tell them, hold it and don't drop it till I take it from you, we're really, we're muzzling the dog. we're taking away their only place of defense. So again, she's sliding. Joy, sit up here, baby. Good girl. Here, let me put my feet here so you don't slide. Okay. So again, that can be a problem. If your dog is sliding, you want to make sure that they've got good grip so they can sit here. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to very, very gently put this right behind her canines. Her canines are these big pointy teeth, and I'm just going to, I'm not holding this shut, I'm just kind of balancing this. Good. As soon as she stops moving her mouth, I'm going to say good. You can use a clicker, but it's just more awkward, guys. Then just make sure that you say good or yes. So I can put my finger in here. I very, very gently, good. If you have to blow on your dog, or if you have to do for real quick to get them to go, and to freeze their mouth, they've got to understand, hold your mouth still. And the reason that we use our finger is you can use a dowel rod or the end of a wooden spoon or something like that, but you really can't feel the tension of the dog's mouth. I was shown how to do this by we're talking a lot of years ago, and the man was in his 80s, so that probably about, I don't even want to admit to this. I won't even say how long ago that was. But he is a field dog trainer, a very, very successful field dog trainer, and this is how he started all his dogs, and it just made a lot of sense. I want to be able to feel the dog's tongue stop moving. So again, I put my finger in the dog's mouth. Make sure you don't pinch their lips, so I'm lifting her lips. Good. As soon as she stops the motion with her tongue, I'm going to say good. Now, once she gets that down, you've got to be careful about every time you say good, the dog knows that your finger's going to get removed. So you have to do a couple of bridges in a row so they understand it's not over. It's, I like that you're doing it, keep on doing it. And as a matter of fact, just for those of you watching this that maybe don't train with us, our bridge is always a continuation bridge. It's not an end of behavior bridge. So when you hear a click, it means keep on going. I like that. When I say good, it means keep on doing it. I like that. And our end of behavior is actually our release word, which is just release. Some people say break, some people say whatever, but that would be our end of behavior bridge. So a lot of people, when they click, it's the end of a behavior. So please note that it's a continuation bridge. So when I put my finger in her mouth, and again, watch their lips, and she's got fur, so and again, I'm not squeezing, I'm just very gently putting my hands here. Good, 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 and I'm not holding her mouth shut, good. And I'm going to do several bridges in a row, which means keep your mouth quiet. I like it, keep doing it. Because we don't want them to think, when I say good, spit my finger out, okay? So you work on that, and then you get to the point where you can use something other than your finger. They have to be able to hang onto your finger for like 30 seconds before I would try doing something else. It really, really helps your dog understand that you want their mouth to be still. You're really kind of gagging them, you're muzzling them, you're doing all that. This is not very pleasant. Make sure that you don't have nasty tasting stuff on your hands and your dog's like, I don't like that. Even things like soap can be very unpleasant. So just make sure that you don't have anything on your hands that's really nasty. Now, if your dog really, really hates this, you may have to go to a lip lift. Good. Okay, literally just lifting the lip. There are some dogs that can bite down on your finger pretty hard, and you're like, oh my gosh, that really hurts. Or there's some dogs that just absolutely hate having their mouths, handled, and you just have to just do it very systematically. And again, my hands are very loose and very gentle. I'm not holding her muzzle. If your dog starts throwing their head around, you're holding too tight. So again, she's fuzzy. Now, part of the reason that she's good with her face is she gets groomed a lot. Okay, so grooming has made her be very quiet with her face. She gets trimmed a lot. She goes to the groomer a lot. She gets combed a lot, which makes a difference. So if you have a dog that their face hasn't been handled a lot, they're going to be the guys that just kind of throw their face all over the place. But again, just lifting, good. You have to bridge when you've got this held, good. Again, other side, good. This is also part of your grooming routine to see if your dog's teeth look okay and all that other stuff. Being able to gently open their mouth, Good. And that's a hard one because it feels like, they're going to want to shut their mouth right away. So just handling their face and doing bridges, when they're doing it correctly, that's the important part. Dog is not, she's chewing. She's not fighting me. She's not chewing on me. She's being calm. Good. So while she is doing the behavior that I'm looking for, I'm saying good. All right, guys, so we're going to assume, you know what assumptions are, but we're going to assume that your dog can, it's a good girl. She's used to laying down under the chair, so you might get some of this as well. So please remember that. It's like you have taught her, Richard has taught her to lay down next to a chair. So you might get a dog that does this. It's fine. You might have to bend over a little bit. Come here, sweetheart. And you want to get to the point where you can put your finger in here and you can, good girl, good, good girl, good girl, good girl. That's a good girl. Release. You can say release because it's end of behavior, or you guys can, a lot of people say thank you when they take something from their dog. And it's not necessarily so much you. If you do any kind of like therapy work with your dog, or you do any visiting, which by the way, I think is great for a service dog to also do therapy work. There are some organizations that say the dogs can't do both. I say train your dog better. But anyway, it's nice to share. I think it's great, especially I've had so many stories of especially veterans going into the VA waiting room, and then all of a sudden their dog is gravitating towards someone else, and when they get talking to that person, something really not so good is going on in their life, and the dog can help provide comfort. So they can share, obviously your dog just can't go walking around and walking up to people, but you'll be surprised at how much your dog will pick up on somebody who's having a really bad day, bad treatment, they've gotten bad news from the doctor, all kinds of different stories out there. So sharing your dog is super cool. So we used to go to the community living center at the Orlando VA and take our service dogs. And it's really cool when veterans go in because not a veteran, this veteran wife, veteran daughter, but as a veteran to veteran, it's really, really neat because you hear them talking about where they've been and what they did, and you get somebody who's totally of a different generation maybe, and they love visiting with the dogs. So I really, really like when y'all share and you maybe go and do something that's more of a therapy. Maybe with your dog. But what happens is you can start teaching your dog to take things to other people. So for instance, on Mother's Day, we would take roses and it's Father's Day or 4th of July, something like that. The dogs will hand out flags. And it'll be most of the time when somebody takes something like that because it's a gift, people will say thank you. So it really does teach the dog to let go of what he has. And also, don't try to get it back. There's an awful lot of dogs that will give something up, but then when somebody takes it, they'll reach out to try to get it again, and that will scare people. So when we say thank you, it means let go and leave it alone until I tell you to take it again. So that's just something to kind of remember. I don't care what you guys can say. Drop it, give, out. I don't care what you say, but you do have to have a release word for an item. So the next thing that you would do is you would get something that your dog can hang on to that's a little bit, they need to be about the same size as your finger. You could use a pencil, you could use a pen, but we want to go let me grab a pen real quick. So something that's about the size of a pen or a pencil, and just, good girl, I know, Daddy's over there. Okay, oh look, let them smell it, let them see what the heck it is. Okay, and then we're going to very gently just put this, good, good. Release. When you take it out, you roll it. So if any of you have ever had birds, if you try to pull something out of your bird's mouth, it will like grip, but when you roll it, they will let go of it. So you kind of do the same thing with your dog. So you very gently put this behind your dog's canines, make sure their lips are not involved. Good girl, good. If she wants to lay down, that's fine. Good. Again, she's just resting her head. The chin is on my hand. Good, good. And then release. Good girl. Okay. I actually did something just now that you shouldn't do. So please don't praise your dog after he lets go of things. So I'm going to do something that I don't sorry, Joy, that I don't want you to do. So I'm gonna use my finger because I don't want to associate it with anything but that. So don't do this. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Release. Good girl. What a good girl. Yay, look at you. What's the bad part? Holding my finger. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Arr, right? We're growling at her. What's the good part? Letting it go. Good girl. Everybody has a tendency to do that. Okay? You can't do that. This has to be good girl. Okay? Good girl. That's a good girl. Pet her nose. Good girl. That's a good girl. Release. No partying after the release. Okay? It's just, you're done. And again, the bridge gets followed up by the cookie. So you're either saying good, yes, click, whatever it might be. And you can say out, release, give, whatever it is, but please make sure that the dog is not spitting this thing out when you're done with it. Okay, guys, that's going to be it for now. And we'll do part 2 of retrieving because this is a long process. Please don't rush this. You can do this when your dog is relaxed. You want to make sure that you're doing retrieves when your dog is frisky. So if you've got your teddy bear, you want to do this when your dog is really active, really excited, because that's when he's going to be more than likely to just pick this thing up and bring it back. You want him calm. If you live in hot climates, be very, very careful about your dog panting. So when we lived in Florida, it was really tough to work on retrieves and holds, especially the holds, being outside because your dog's going to be heavily panting and you're trying to make them close their mouth over an object. So I would really suggest doing this where it's cool and comfortable, and usually when your dog's relaxed.